welcome to this Benchwarmers podcast edition on the road. We are currently on our way down to Wembley for today's non-league finals day. We are just shy of Luton at the moment.
We've just gone by Watford's Gap.
Watford's Gap, indeed. We had a quick pit stop at Leicester Forest, surrounded by a number of Halifax fans. We've got our usual Gareth, Nick and Lennon with us.
Hello.
We're all proudly wearing our Pontefract Collieries attire, which didn't appear to go down too well in the services. Many an eye caught there.
Better than my Leeds hoodie did originally.
Yeah, not a great idea surrounded by Halifax fans, but these things you do on an away day.
Charlie, before we start, can I just pass on my congratulations to somebody, please?
Of course.
He's a very humble man, so I'm not going to go into full detail, but congratulations to Mark. You know who you are, and I'm very happy for you. Thank you.
There you go, a shout out on today's episode. Well, with today's episode being on the road, we're going to cover as much as we can on our journey. We're going to have a little bit of an update on today's two games that we have ahead of us. First, the FA Vase, where Ascot United will host Newport Pagnell, followed by the late kick-off of FC Halifax Town against Gateshead FC. Should be a great day's football. It's looking like we've got some lovely weather for a trip to the capital, and hopefully we'll be able to provide some good content on the way. A little bit better than what Gareth supplied us so far in the journey.
New content constantly dropping.
That's going to be the title for this episode. There, problem solved. It's been a few weeks since our last episode, since as we were heading towards the business end of the season. There's been a number of leagues won and some even lost since our last episode. Obviously, with the league seasons finished, there's a number of sides that will be playing in high divisions this year. Those in the National League, we've seen the last of Wrexham and Notts County this year, and if the record continues, we won't see them for at least a couple of years. We've seen Notts County win via the playoffs, and a number of sides that you would have expected to not be near the foot of the table. Yeovils, your Scunthorpes, Torquay, relegated out of the conference. So it's been a hectic year in that division. We've had playoff finals in the last couple of weeks, with heartbreak for some and ecstasy for others. Chaps, we'll touch on the playoffs. What are our thoughts on playoff football, and where do we stand on? Do you think it should be a thing, or do you think if you finish behind the automatic positions, should you also, if for example Wrexham have gone up, Notts County should have gone up instead of having to go through a playoff?
I really like the playoff format. I like that it gives teams in mid-tables opportunity to have something to play for right to the end of the season. But it just feels like, and we talked about it last time, it just feels like we need that extra place for an automatic promotion. First and second automatically promoted, and then playoff. I mean, you look at how Chesterfield, despite being so many points behind Notts County, pushed them in that playoff final, and it made it hard for Notts County. It wasn't straightforward, was it?
Well, it was pretty much like how the regular season ended. You've got Notts County that were behind in their playoff semi. They found themselves having to come from 2 behind, I think it was, against Boreham Wood at home, and then scoring in the 89th minute that they equalised, and then again in the 120th minute to win the tie just to get to Wembley, and then again at Wembley fell behind twice against Chester, and then eventually winning on penalties. They very much deserved it, but you're right. It was one that could have ended abruptly at the end of the season without even getting to Wembley. I think you're right in terms of the playoffs. I think the format is probably the most excitement that you get all year in terms of the action, the jeopardy that's on the line. But like you mentioned, with how far ahead Notts County were of those that finished in the final playoff spot, you can see the argument for the higher position side should automatically go up. If you're thinking that a season is, say for example, 46 games long, and if the side that's finished 20 points behind you gets promoted, you'd argue that there's some kind of unfairness there.
You see, I disagree with that slightly. I mean, end of the day, it starts season, you know what rules are.
Oh, there's no doubt in that, but if you're getting 20 points more,
that's not going to stop you from being disappointed knowing what the
Oh,
rules
no, of course
are.
it isn't.
Is it?
But you're telling me that Notts County aren't going to enjoy winning that final at Wembley?
No, they probably enjoyed it more than probably Wrexham did in the end, because of the Wembley trip, winning it in the fashion that they did. But you can. There's definitely an extra disappointment after having such a good year that if they didn't make it, it would have been heartbreaking for them. Touching on some of the other sides that are promoted, obviously Kidderminster, they went back up after their playoff final win. They beat Kings Lynn in the semis, and a little touch on Kings Lynn there, with their manager leaving just before the playoffs started to join Aldershot, who were currently who survived towards the end of the season in the conference. Interesting. It would have been interesting to see how that would have shaped up, as they finished only a couple of points behind champions for AFC Fylde, to whether they would have gone up regardless. So I can see there being some quite ill thought towards him from the Kings Lynn fans and probably some at the club as well, with the way that he abruptly left towards the end of the season.
Being bitter towards former managers, though, is all part of fun, though, isn't it?
Well, exactly, and I think we can put our hat on that one. That's not something that we're all about at Pontiac. We've never been in that kind of.
Never seen me be like it.
No songs or anything.
No.
Just sheer gratitude.
Just congratulations when they do well. That's all we do.
Well, appreciation only. Congratulations and all. But back onto today. Obviously, two massive games. I think the importance of the cup runs when it comes to FA Vase, particularly for the clubs that are in the FA Vase, to be able to have a cup run in that competition, I think it's massive for clubs. Maybe not quite as much for the FA Trophy, with the prize money maybe not mattering as much, and more so the trip to Wembley for the FA Trophy sides and the chance to win some silverware. But I think the prize money at hand for the sides in the FA Vase is something that can change a club.
Well, we went to Webburn, didn't we? And they obviously got to final last year, was it?
It's definitely been in the last couple of years,
yeah. Couple of years. And you see the facilities they've got, you see their clubhouse, you see how they've invested. You can tell that they've had a good cup run. Race Finance has handled it correctly and really set up a good infrastructure up there. And
that's built on their side this year as well. They've obviously gone on to, for them, sadly they failed in the playoffs, getting beaten by Long Eaton, who went on to get promoted. But again, their squad improved last year on the season before, and I'm sure they'll no doubt do that again this year on the back of, again, that infrastructure that they've built.
And as well, it's also good for lads that are playing at a lower level that probably never thought they'd get a chance to play at Wembley, to get that chance to walk out there. I mean, I for one never thought I'd see Jack Senior play at Wembley. so for him to lead Halifax out today will be a great feeling for him. So,
as a local lad as well, he's captain of his team. And we had the glorious experience of being able to sing a song or two when we played against Halifax in the FA Cup only last year. So I can speak for myself. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'll be back in Halifax today. They certainly looked after us when we played Halifax, so they'll be getting my support today.
Yeah, me too. Got to go for Yorkshire side over someone from North East. Surely, Gaff. I'm looking at you, pulling a face. You can't see this face on the podcast.
I'm just bitter that they beat us in fourth qualifying round. That's the only thing. Yes,
but we got on the telly. We're in the cup draw.
Yes, you've obviously got to support the Yorkshire team.
He's saying that for a gritted team. But no, I think as far as the occasion goes, this will probably be the biggest game that any of the 44 players will play, obviously including the substitutes as well.
I'll tell you only thing that I've not mentioned that I was quite a little bit disappointed about, really. I saw it on the FA website. They've appointed league officials to referee these. I mean, Darren England's doing the FA Trophy, who I think's refereed obviously at a very high standard. And I think, shouldn't it be somewhat for some of our top non-league officials?
We've talked about non-league officials, and I think, whilst I fully agree with what you're saying, and I think that those that have done well throughout the year should be rewarded with this kind of cup final rather than then giving it to a football league official. We've talked about the standard this year, and I'm not going to go too much into it, but there'll be some people that higher up in the FA towers that will be looking to save their backs and not wanting to have the game tarred by potential refereeing issues.
I'm convinced, though, at some point today we'll be sat in our seats and we will, even as neutrals, be slacking off a referee's decision.
And I'm sure during half times, full times, when we're recording a little piece in the ground, we will be bringing that up as well. But I think that's possibly the reasoning behind it. I think it probably happens in most occasions. Even FA Cups, as you're going through the rounds, you'll find that it'll be a higher graded official that'll cover fixtures.
I'm just amazed that someone who does no research knows who the officials are. What the hell is going on?
He's not even got a ring binder. He's done this off his head. And he's sat here smuggling, nodding away, driving down the motorway.
I can confirm Darren isn't doing both games, but I can't remember the name of the referee that's doing the Vase game. So apologies to him, because no doubt he'll be listening on his journey home today.
How quickly do you think we're posting this? Sorry, unless you've become a qualified producer.
What, so you think you'll be listening to it next week then, do you?
I think it's possibly going to be the week after. But no, I think...
He didn't say journey home from where?
Well, yeah, that's a fair point, well made, but he did say today. So, I think as far as today's cup final goes, we'll touch on those games shortly. But I think as far as the day goes, it'll be a great day. I'm sure we're not the only neutrals making our way down for this game. Obviously, as part of a... Gareth's just looking confused as I'm tapping him on the shoulder with our recording device. But no, I think there'll be a number of neutrals making their way down. It'll no doubt be a packed stadium for the seats that have been sold. And
it'll be packed for the seats that have been sold.
Yeah, as in the restricted seats in the upper tier.
Well, I can tell you that last week the FA did actually announce that currently there had been 23,500 tickets sold. So obviously a few more will be sold into the build-up, I'd imagine, today, with everybody looking to get a little bit of football fix.
And does that also include the FA allocated tickets in-house as well?
I don't know the answer to that.
That's a very good
Charlie,
question. Because usually when you get these Wembley kind of games and FA fixtures, you do get some in-house tickets for sponsors. So it'd be interesting to see.
I did notice as well, I think, and apologies to if I get this the wrong way around, but I did see that I think Ascot are actually bringing more fans than Gateshead today.
I mean, they are quite a...
Admittedly, Gateshead is a million miles from anywhere. And it's hard to get through all that snow. But, well, yeah, still a good turnout from the teams in the Vase, who were obviously the lower ranked sides.
So on to the next part of today's podcast. With it being obviously the big final day, we're going to go into a bit more detail on the finalists. So we'll start with the FA Vase and the team that are down as the home side and be in the home dressing room for today's game with Ascot United. So the side from Berkshire, champions this year from the Premier Division North, and they will be playing in the Isthmian League next year. 102 points they acquired in this league, and just shy of 20 points clear of second. So the form side, the side that are going into it as favourites according to the bookmakers' odds, Ascot, you wouldn't have them renowned as being known for their football team. Of course, their racecourse and horse racing facility is probably what their area is most known for, and their ground is actually based in what used to be a car park of the racecourse. So their ground is called the racecourse.
In a quarter of a mile, make a
Early,
slight left turn onto A4.
brilliant timing. We've got the directions telling us that we are 0.1 miles from a turn to Wembley. So we are almost here. We've seen the arch in the distance, and I'll go back to what I was saying, and it's quite topical actually. So earlier in their league campaign this year, Ascot have won at Wembley.
Make a slight left turn now.
Now, we did take a slight left. She doesn't want to agree with us.
Keep left.
No way I'd have gone.
Ascot won at Wembley. Not Wembley Stadium, but they beat Wembley 2-1 in the league earlier this year. And they have a famous goalkeeper, Gareth.
They do, yes. Former Portsmouth goalkeeper Jamie Ashdown, is it?
It is Jamie Ashdown indeed. He'll be looking to hopefully keep out the Newport
Turn right
Pagnell
now,
side.
Then keep left.
And he'll be keeping left for penalties, I've heard.
For the mile, keep left and then keep right.
So we're going to look at our visitors now in between these left turns as we bear down on Wembley.
Keep left now and then keep right.
We are keeping left, love, don't you worry.
In 100 yards, keep right.
This is absolute podcast gold here. We're keeping right, don't worry. So on to Newport Pagnell. The side from Buckinghamshire.
Nick's just had a piss there as well.
Mile, keep left.
We had a quick pit stop on the way down at Newport.
I took a photo of the bush.
There were no swans, but Newport are known as the Swans. They finished third in their league earlier this year, but they also won this competition this time last year. So they've got course and distance. They know how to win this.
Has anybody else defended the title before, Nick?
Keep left now.
Yes, they have.
Wow.
But I can't remember who it was.
Wow, I thought we'd rehearse this.
Nick has been fully thrown off by the navigation.
It was Whitley Bay, wasn't it,
Yeah,
Nick?
they won it 3 years on the bounce.
Which is some achievement.
The only team to have defended the trophy.
Can you remember the years at all, Nick?
No.
He's been finished off by the navigation. And on that note, we're going to move on to the FA Trophy. First up, the home side for that fixture, FC Halifax Town, formerly known as Halifax Town.
The Shaymen.
West Yorkshire side, the Shaymen indeed, who play at the Shay. They finished 11th this year in the National League after getting into the playoffs last year. In a bit of somewhat of a transition year after losing their manager who went on to manage Barrow, Pete Wild, and taking their top striker Billy Waters with him.
It's a long way, that.
It's a long way to Barrow. It'd be even longer way to Wembley. They finished 11th this year after a bit of a revival towards the end of the season.
Keep left.
It was a quarter of the way of the season to go, and they came on strong and finished mid-table in the end. And they are a previous FA Trophy winner, winning it in 15-16. And before we get another direction from our favourite sat-nav, if any sat-nav companies want to get involved and sponsor, Garmin, you're welcome. TomTom, you know where we are. You can find us on any social media platform. We'll go on to Gateshead, or Heed, as they like to be known, or Heed Army. And we're keeping left, don't worry. So, Gateshead this year finished 14th in the league, currently managed by ex-Newcastle United centre-half Mike Williamson.
And they've got a lovely shopping centre.
They've got a lovely shopping centre, and they play at the Gateshead International Stadium.
Apologies to Gateshead fans, but that sounds soulless. I can see it. Does it have a running track round it?
It does, you're right,
yes,
yeah.
I thought it might.
They lost their big striker last year after getting promoted into the National League. One, Macaulay Langstaff, who's gone on to have an alright season since he left. He's done alright. So they'll be looking to get one over on their National League rivals. And it should be an interesting game for both of them.
Now, of a mile, turn left onto Bridge Road.
Alright, love, don't worry. We're going to go on to some predictions. So we'll see if we'll tally these back at the end to see how everyone's gone. Gareth, I'll throw to you first.
I've got to drive, do I really have to go first as well?
You do, yeah.
Right, okay.
You're at red light, so you say.
So I think, looking for a little bit of research that we've done, and as you know, my research has been minimal. It looks like Ascot are the team to beat in the first game. So I'm going to go for an Ascot 2-0 win.
Home win.
Yes.
Nick?
I'm also going for Ascot, but I think both teams will score. I think it'll be 3-1 to Ascot.
Solid. Lennon, where are you standing on the FA Vase?
I think it'll be 3-0 Ascot.
3-0 Ascot. Well, I agree with Nick. I'm going to go for both teams to score.
Goals galore.
And I'm going to go for an exciting 4-2.
Oh, what a day.
It's going to be an absolute roller coaster of a final.
It's worth missing Leeds' game for that, isn't it?
Exactly.
No.
And now, Nick's sat with a face on in the back, but we can see the arch from where we are. Now, not that you can see it, but we can, so don't worry about it.
I can't see it because I'm looking at the road.
Well, that's a good sign for us. We're going to go on to the FA Trophy now, which sees 11th versus 14th in the National League face-off. Gareth, we're at another red light. We're going to turn left, don't worry. Gareth, what's your prediction?
It's going to be a close one. You look at the betting and the bookies can't pick. Also, I mean, league table. I think there were about a point between them, and I think Gateshead might have had that point deducted, if I'm right, or something on that. So, two very even looking sides on paper. So I can see this being a long one. So extra time wouldn't surprise me. I could see a 1-1 extra time and maybe even the dreaded penalties. Obviously, we're hoping the Yorkshire team come out on top. So, fingers crossed for them.
Lovely stuff. We've got a draw and penalties there for Gareth. Nick?
Draw and penalties for me too. Also, both teams to score. I'm thinking 1-1 in 90 minutes. I'm thinking it 1-1 at end of extra time. And I'm thinking Gateshead are going to nick it on penalties. But I want Halifax to win.
Lennon?
See, mine's very similar to Nick, but I'm thinking Halifax will win on penalties and not Gateshead. So I think it'll be 1-1 in Halifax.
So we've got 3-1 so I'm going to go for goals. It's going to be a 2-2 draw in 90 minutes.
Desmond.
And I've got a sneaky feeling that a certain Sam Johnston in goal for Halifax, he's been on fire in penalties throughout this competition.
He's a big lad.
And I'm going to go for, he's going to be the hero again and he's going to win it on penalties. But I think it's going to be 2-2 in 90, 3-3 in extra time.
Keep left now.
And a penalties victory for Halifax Town. We're going to keep things interesting today. And a total of 12 goals across the two finals.
What a time to be alive that is, eh?
And if my predictions are right, I'm going to be devastated that I've not put a bet on it. So we are pulling into Wembley now. So we'll
in a quarter of a mile,
we'll be bringing some footage on our socials of the ground. Speak to you soon. So we're back after the final game of non-league finals day. It has been, I'm going to say, an entertaining day for the large part. Although by the look of Nick's face in the back of this car, he's looking at me like he wished the first part of it went quicker and the second part of it maybe lasted a little longer.
Good second game.
So we'll go on to the first game first of all. It was a game that was
lacking in quality.
Lacking in quality is probably a fair description. I think when we talked about the game between us and there was a touch of a couple of players stood out, but there wasn't much else in terms of quality in that game, whether that's down to the size of the pitch and the extra running, whether it's been a long season for both sides. It looked like there was a bit of lack of quality.
I thought it looked like there were too many players that understandably were afraid of maybe trying something that they normally do, and a lot of times they found the easy option of smashing the ball 70 yards into a channel, which I'd probably do the same. I can understand why they do that. It's a big occasion. You're playing at Wembley. It's something that probably you've only ever dreamed about and you never thought would happen. So I understand why nobody wants to go there and make a mistake, which when we come on to the second one, there's a mistake in there, so you can see why people aren't wanting to take that chance.
And obviously within the first half there was a clash of heads and both players ended up going off. Do you think in terms of the way that the game went that early change might have disrupted things as well? I think there's always many different things that could change the game, but the one key moment that did change the game, that ended up being the match winner, the substitute that came on early doors with a lovely glancing header. Nick, what was your thoughts on that goal?
Lovely finish. There weren't many chances throughout the game, no real clear-cut chances. Lovely ball swung in from right hand side, gets in front of his defender, meets him, glancing header, low down, goes in off the post at the end where we were. Good finish. But just to go back to what we were saying about the quality of the game in that one, I mean, we will come on to the second game, but the second game between Halifax and Gateshead, as you were watching, you could see how both teams had set up, you could see defensive lines, you could see players moving through the lines, you could see who was attacking space. I didn't see any of that. I couldn't pick anything out of that first game in terms of shape or tactics or anything that the teams were consistently trying to do. So I found it a tough watch, that first one, if I'm honest.
We could tell. But no, obviously the winners in the end, they've ended up having a great season. Ascot were probably on the face of the second half, they probably deserved to win it. I think the first half, Newton and Pagnell were probably the better side. But in terms of the fans off the field, I thought for large parts Newton Pagnell, they were brilliant, their supporters.
Newport Pagnell.
That's what I said.
No, I thought you said Newton Pagnell.
Newport Pagnell? No. At least I didn't call them a tube station. Yes, Gareth, that's you.
I'm trying to concentrate on my
So
driving, Charlie.
Newport Pagnell, their supporters were great throughout the game. Ascot, I think, came into things in the second half more so, especially when the goal went in, and they kind of helped rally the troops towards the end.
If I were Pagnell, I'd be disappointed we didn't get some of that. I think that, like I say, I think they had the better of the first half.
It wouldn't have been out of question if that had finished as a draw and gone on to extra time.
I would have been disappointed if we hadn't got to extra time from a Newport position.
I would have been extremely disappointed if they had gone to extra time.
And then penalties.
It would have saved us watching quite a bit of the Leeds game though, so that could have been a godsend really.
And then we go on to the second game, so the FA Trophy. As we said before the game, it was two sides that could hardly be split in the league, 2 points between it. And the first half started pretty much just like that. I think Gateshead started the brightest, looked like they were going to create a lot of chances in the game. And then after Halifax kind of weathered that early storm, I think they came into it and were probably the better side of that second half of the first half. And as you mentioned it was a mistake that led to the goal. Jamie Cook, our favourite player of the day, I think, with his goals, we think sealing a match double for us. So he's chased down a back pass that's not quite made it, and the keeper's tried his best to clear it before Cook's blocked it and it's ricocheted into the net, and it turned into being the match winner. How would you guys have described the game on the whole, that second one, in comparison to the first game?
Quality wise, I think it were light years ahead. You could see, like Nick said, both teams had a more structure, they had a style that they wanted to play. I think as well you could see that the forward players were probably a yard sharper. Defenders as well, to be fair, defenders looked more on the toes, more aware of what was everything happening. I think the general quality of it looked better. I mean, Gates said I would imagine had more of the ball, but I just never had a feeling they were really going to do anything with it.
No.
They had the one little guy up front. I really should be able to remember his name.
Adam Campbell,
the little number 11, who I thought looked. Every time he touched the ball, I think I went, lovely footballer. But it just wasn't their day, and I think Town, who were happy to soak the pressure up and hit on the counter, they had the better quality up front, and I think that was ultimately what was the seal for them.
You could see as soon as Halifax went in front, they changed to a back five, played with quite a deep line. There was no room, there was no real press from the midfield. They weren't really trying to win the ball in midfield, they were just trying to win interceptions, pick up loose balls rather than going and trying to win tackles. We found the front player quite frustrating, Harker, in his lack of pressing. But that's obviously their tactic. Sit deep, don't break the lines, stay compact, and it saw them through to get a 1-0 win.
and in terms of obviously with it being finals day, both games you're going to have winners and losers. It's been a great day for Halifax and Ascot, but also on the other side of it, you've got two sides that have obviously had amazing cup runs to get as far as they have, and to lose in the fashion that they did. Both games only a goal in it, unlike my earlier prediction of 12 goals across both games.
Just under,
yeah. I think it's one of those where they can be really proud of their efforts across the season as a whole, and I think it'll be interesting to see how both sides do. Well, obviously the sides in the trophy do it again next year in the competition, and Newport Pagnell, how they fare with Ascot getting promoted. They'll be one of the first sides entering the FA Trophy next year.
It's going to be a long drive back to Gateshead though for them boys, isn't it, after being there. I mean, it'll have been a brilliant experience nonetheless, but I'm sure it'll be a long, tough drive back.
Definitely. I think one final...
It's going to be long enough driving back to Ponty.
Well, yeah, there is that. I think one final thing I wanted to touch on with the FA Trophy, I think we touched on the fans in the first game of the two sides, Newport Pagnell, just to confirm, and Ascot United. I think FC Halifax's fans were brilliant in that second game.
Really noisy.
All the way through, they were singing, they were dancing about, and I think they certainly edged it on the day. I think they had the most fans in the ground as it was. There was over 27,000 fans across the day. I think in terms of their supporters, I think if there was going to be an award for supporters of the day, I think they'd definitely take it for us as well. But overall, it's been a lovely day, gents. Anything to add? Any moments that have stood out?
That keeper's save, I think that the defender hit it, he was hitting really, really hard with his wrists. He kept strong wrists, and I thought that was really, really
Montgomery.
Yeah. Montgomery Burns.
Yeah, big save at a big time. Kept his team in it. Unfortunately, wasn't enough. But yeah, like you say, it was a big save at that time.
And off the pitch, any thoughts on today's eateries?
I thought them chicken things and chips were quite nice.
The peppery chicken.
Yeah, I liked that though. A little bit out of my comfort zone, if I'm honest, with peppers and stuff.
Peppery.
I thought I was concerned about the pepper, but no, turned into a good decision.
Yeah, my chicken bolty pie when ice was just
Bit warm.
thermonuclear is how I would describe that chicken bolty pie, but it was a good pie. No,
Always comes back to power stations with you, doesn't it?
And as a whole, I think for the non-league supporter, I think it's certainly one as an experience that's not like your average non-league experience, for sure. Walking into the ground, only allowed an A4 size bag, apparently.
For some.
Champagne bars.
£8.50 for chicken and chips, £6.50 for a pint. But as a whole, I think for £25, I think our ticket was.
Yeah.
I think it's for 2 games of football, we've not done too bad. And hopefully when Bet365 see this message, they pay out and we end up getting our parking free courtesy of Jamie Cook. So I think.
Courtesy of winning.
Well, yeah, winning as well, yeah. But as a whole, our first finals day, from the look on Nick's face, it's our first and final finals day. But
he's just miserable because Leeds lost, isn't he? You know what he's like. He's always moved in.
Monji.
He's been a sourpuss ever since Declan Rice scored. He's had a face like a smacked ass. He'll be fine.
Well, and if anyone else can explain to us the Asian handicap, that would be very much appreciated, because Bet365 still haven't paid out yet, and we'd like an explanation.
And Nick did the same bet and got paid instantly.
Yeah, so we're still a little bit confused. But from the Benchwarmers podcast, we hope you enjoyed listening to our away day special down in London, and hopefully you tune back in for our next episode, which will likely now be a new season episode. So
fantastic.
We'll be able to look forward to that one.
Introducing our new feature, Pet Player.
Pet player?
Pet Player.
I'm glad.
Episode 1's Pet Player of Season 2 will be, what's he called? Your new favourite footballer?
Jamie Cook.
Jamie Cook. So, Cookie, if you're out there and you want to give us some info, feel free to hit us up or whatever you do with this sort of thing.
And from me, I think that's a good time to end it. No more hitting up. So thank you very much, chaps, and we'll see you next time.
Jamie Cook.